Welcome back. And yes, if this is the first time you are watching this, we are reading the worst reviews for each Spider-Man's worst performing movies based off of the critics and based off of the audience. Let's get straight into it. Here's the lineup that we got. We have Spider-Man 3, which was the third installment for Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man films, and it's coming in at a 63% on Rotten Tomatoes with an audience score of 51. After that, we are followed up to review the bad reviews for The Amazing Spider-Man 2. This came in at a 51% on Rotten Tomatoes by the critics, but an audience score of 64%. And then lastly, we will be reading the worst reviews for Tom Holland's Spider-Man Homecoming. This, based off ratings, was the worst performing, and also at the box office was the worst performing. It was really hard to find bad reviews for Tom Holland's. Out of the three that he's already been in, this was his worst film. But there is a certain way that we're going to do this. We're going to get into character. Let's fully immerse ourselves in the Spider-Man. We're going to do this one way and one way only. That's right. Spider-Man, Spider-Man. Let's read these bad reviews, baby. Ugh. Get into my proper attire. Ugh. Are you guys ready? We have Spider-Man 3, 63% from the critics and a 51% from the audience. It looks like the audience wasn't too fond of it as much as the critics. I mean, both of these are pretty low scores, so we said we were going to read the worst reviews, so let us go read what the critics had to say. Diego C gives it a 2.5 stars and says, the movie doesn't make sense. The way that Uncle Ben's story worked is screwed up. The way the symbiote arrives is forced. And the way Sandman gets his powers is forced. And what ruined the movie was that its protagonist and its antagonist are the worst of the movie. Wow. Pretty hard feelings there, Mr. Diego. But let's move on into something else. Adam S says, with a 3-star review, Spider-Man 3 is considered one of, if not the worst Spider-Man film. But it still provides the wall-crawling action of this hero that you want to see. And if you want to see Spider-Man dance, it's got that too. I think the only thing you can really take from Spider-Man 3 is the dancing. After that, the story is pretty much irrelevant. Stephen H gives it a 1.5 star. Damn, that's low. This movie was so bad, and it's no fault of Tobey Maguire or Sam Raimi, but Sony's. They forced Raimi to use Venom when he didn't like the character because he didn't know anything about him. Wasn't that kind of Sam Raimi's fault? That he didn't know anything about probably one of the most prominent villains Spider-Man goes up against? They overstuffed the movie with villains and the story was nearly impossible to follow with. Because of it being all over the place, the Venom character wasn't even the character, not in the slightest. It could have been more of a carnage. The jackass dance, really? That wasn't needed. This was by far the worst movie of all time. Second of Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. Wow, 1.5 out of 10. I wasn't a fan of Nicolas Cage being Ghost Rider, but you didn't even like a Bully Maguire's dancing? Carl J. Whoa, we have to address this. Cringy, but better than previous versions of the movie. So you're saying that this movie is cringy, right? You're saying that Spider-Man 3 is cringy, but you're saying it's better than Spider-Man 2 and 1? I'm sorry, we're gonna have to reevaluate your taste on movies. Red T gives it a 2.5 star and says, a bloated mess. The acting is all over the place. Maguire in the first half is close to the charm and likability of the first two, but there is two problems. First, there's so many characters, storylines, and the film jumps all over the place that he doesn't get that much screen time, despite this being the longest film. Second, when he becomes Venom, he is so out of character and cringe. I actively stopped liking him at all. Oh, this is a long review. I'm not gonna read all that. I understand your point, Red T, but no. So we got a little taste of what the audience thought about it. Let's think of what the critics thought about it. Oh geez, Maddie Lucas, harsh review. If the colorful characters of the previous Spider-Man films were painted with a master's brush, then Spider-Man 3 was scrawled in by a 3-year-old with a crayon. Sheesh. Okay, it wasn't that bad. It was cringy, but it wasn't that bad. Ryan Gibley, or Gilbey. I'm calling you Ryan Gibley. Top critic The breeziness that was so refreshing in the other episodes has been largely replaced by the kind of misery and moping that we can get from any old superhero. Jesus Christ. There's a lot of splats, but there also is a good sprinkle amount of tomatoes here, fresh tomatoes. Felix Vasquez Jr. says, this third film is awful, it's sloppy, and it's mishandled in every aspect. He wrote this in 2007, so he was like there when it happened, like during the ugliness of what everyone thought about this film. But I feel like that is enough for Spider-Man 3. That's enough hating on it for a while, but let's move in into the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man. Let's get ready for Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah, I cannot feel where the zipper's at. Okay, there it is. Ready? Yeah, so looking at this right here. Oh, I kind of look like him a little bit, don't I? Looking at the reviews right now, we have the critics with a 51% and we have the audience with a 64%. So the audience liked it a little bit more than the critics. But we are here to read the worst reviews, so let's go with the 51%. Let's see what we have. Dang! The first cup. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 splat tomatoes already. Let's just go down the first 5 we see. Alright, so Keith Garlington. Several of the film's components work really well, while others drag the film down or hinder the storytelling. Perhaps the biggest problem is that the movie tries to cram in too much story and too many characters. You're kind of just saying it's like Spider-Man 3, but just a modern day, where it kind of did the same problem. Brian Eggert says, the romantic heart of the film has real potential, but it feels undone by the filmmaker's tireless mission to include the requisite trappings of a superhero epic. Every last one of them, no matter how graceless or overcrowded their in conclusion may be. 1.5 out of 4. Jeez Louise. Robert Sims! There's the troubling sense about The Amazing Spider-Man 2 that it unfolds mostly in service of Sony's plans to create its own Marvel Cinematic Universe around the superhero and his arch enemies. Bro, I don't understand how these guys film on a day-to-day basis for hours. It's hot in this mask, holy shit. Grant Watson says the majority of its 142 minutes are devoted to cross-film story arcs and subplots without a lot of space left over from a strong narrative through line. We have Sean Chandler. Two fantastic leads can't save this film from its overstuffed script with competing visions. Oh my god, I can't do this. Fuck, man. What is David Harris thinking? While The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is still more charming than The Avengers, it falls prey of trying to do too much. So wait, you really think it's like more charming than The Avengers? What? That's enough of the critics. Let's read some of what the audience had to say. We got Miranda right here stating that she wasn't a fake fan. I love Andrew even before No Way Home. Graham S kind of was very short and sweet with it. Meh. It's nothing special. Another person by the name of No Name says best Spider-Man movie. Wow. Some guy named Mr. Spider with grammatical errors in it says, all I can say is that this film is highly underrated. Okay, we're supposed to be reading the bad reviews. Why is this getting so much praise? There we go, Adam. This is what we're looking for. 1/2 star, the worst Spider-Man movie without a doubt. That's the premise of what this video is about, to read the worst reviews. Gabriele, the 1-star says, worst Spider-Man movie ever! Exclamation mark. A film with 1,000 subplots and not even one that works as well as the villains. Total disaster! Another exclamation point. Let's move on into the last film, and that is Spider-Man Homecoming. Last time of this video, let's switch into the proper attire. Spider-Man, Spider-Man. So the good news is that I don't have to wear the mask. The bad news is that I spent money on it and I don't know where it's at. This is going to be a little bit challenging because there's going to be a lot of good reviews about this, but we can find some. All you have to do is just go to where the critics are. There we go. It didn't take long. Mike Massey with terrible taste says, just one more forgettable, indistinguishable entry into the rapidly growing collection of Marvel's superhero extravaganza. CJ Shu says, maybe I'm just getting old here, but I could barely follow the action set pieces. Jorge Loser says, the universe of the Marvel Studios can be easily followed, but it begins to get too close in itself, losing the naturalness of the independent stories. Full review in Spanish. I think I get what you're saying. I don't need to understand it in a different language. Bob Chipman says, yup, Marvel actually made Sony release a whole movie about the hero of their superhero franchise, begging Robert Downey Jr. to please, pretty please, let him be in more of the Avenger movies. Geek. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you have made it to the end of the video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, leave a like on the video, and also leave a comment down below if you agree on any of the movies. Leave a comment down below if you agree or disagree with some of these comments that we have read. If you want to see reading the worst reviews for Mario that has just came out, go ahead and hit that. It's going to be right over here or right over there. It doesn't matter. Thanks for watching.